Good morning, everyone. Gonna go live just a second early here. Make sure that we're all set up, but most importantly, to make sure that perfect. Most importantly, to make sure that you can see the words correctly on the board games I'm about to show you. I know our first video things were backwards, but happy Wednesday and welcome to What Is It Wednesday from the Barnes Museum in Southington, Connecticut. My name is Bonnie. I'm the caretaker curator at the museum. And if you haven't seen our two previous videos, this is our third installment of What Is It Wednesday. Please go onto our Facebook page. You can look at our videos and the history of the videos will be there. But you can also go on our YouTube channel, which is the Bradley Barnes Homestead. And you can share those with people who may not have Facebook. Today's April, and April Fool's Day, yes, but most importantly, it's April, it's spring, and it's time for some fun and games. I think we all could use some fun and games in this time of stress right now. So welcome to the fun and games edition of What Is It Wednesday. Let's show all this cool stuff that's kind of here because I'm loving this. Let's see. I'm going to show you, coming on forward. Now, the Barnes Museum has a large collection of games. Games are thousands of years old, and today we're going to be talking about a lot of these fun items over across this table. But games are thousands and thousands of years old. And some of the earliest games are bone dice. They're colored rocks in games created maybe in the Fertile Crescent, like 5,000 years old, roundabouts there. But games are a fun way to pass the time. It's a great way to connect with others. Historically, games, the earliest games, were used not only for fun, but as educational tools. Sometimes they were used as a symbol of status. And as I just mentioned, the Barnes Museum has a large collection of games. We have many decks of cards. In fact, in our living room, in the center of the Barnes Museum, there's a beautiful desk. And in that desk has many of the playing card decks that Bradley would use. But it also has little notebooks. And the notebooks have Bradley's whist scores still. So we know if he was winning or losing against his friends with whist, which was great. We have a beautiful Mahjong game. We have diaries. We always go back to the diaries in these videos, right? And I do have one of the diaries on the table here in front of me, you'll see. The diary entries tell us that the family passed time by not only playing some games, but also playing croquet, ice skating over on the Lake Compounds Lake. They used to go over there a lot and talk about that. But on a beautiful April day like this today, I bet you that they would come home from work and they would be playing croquet with some of their friends. So if you have croquet, maybe go outside, set it up, take a few pictures, show us in the comments below. But let's talk again. We'll talk about these fun items, and I'll come up and I'll show you the items and go over them one by one because that's the fun part. Here we go. The first one I want to show you is this game, and I'm doing this backwards, so please forgive me. Here we go. I'd like to show you this game right here. This is called Grandma's Game of Useful Knowledge. And this is almost like Jeopardy before Jeopardy was invented, which is super neat. It is played just a little differently, though, and we'll get to why. How you play this is one person would be your Alex Trebek, and you would have other people with stacks of cards in front of them, and you would flip over the card of your pile in front of you. And you would have your Alex Trebek read your card. The cards are right here. They have a number and they have a sentence. This one, or a question. This one happens to say, what is butter? So your Alex Trebek, instead of giving you the clue and you'd have to give the answer, your Alex would give you the question. They'd say, okay, what is butter? Alex would read your card. And then you, as the contestant, would have to Answer the question correctly, which Alex Trebek would find the answer in the Useful Game of Knowledge manual here. And the correct answer for number 24, what is butter, is butter is cream that is churned. And if you came close enough to that answer to satisfy your Alex Trebek, you would win the point. You would win this card. And the person at the end of the game who had the most cards would win the game. Some other items and games that we have. I know one of my favorite games to play, even now, even now at my age, was Hungry Hungry Hippos. Let me go backwards here. Actually, here, I'm going to go like this. Hungry Hungry Hippos. That is almost like this game right here. There are no marbles attached to this. We call it Hungry Hippos, but it's actually just a little wooden toy that you would play. You would pick it up. There would be a string connecting all those little chickens' heads, and you would pull it down, and the chickens would peck on the ground as if they were pecking seed and whatnot like that. So this is our Barnes Museum version of Hungry Hungry Hippos. You can also see I've got some roller skates here. Roller skates looked a little bit different back in the day. You would keep your shoes on. Actually, they look very similar to the very first roller skates that all of us get when we're kids. You keep your sneakers on, and then you strap these on over your sneakers. There's a little key that tightens these up so they fit properly on your shoe. And then you roll around on your roller skates. The wheels on these are wooden, which are fabulous, and you can even see where they're worn in a couple of areas. So Bradley definitely got a chance to use these. We have some ice skates. These ice skates are very different than ice skates today. These in particular are standing up on their own. They can do that because the blade on the ice skate is so thick. They're just standing kind of there, all nice and by themselves. And again, just as the roller skates we just saw, you can see that you would put these over your shoes and strap yourselves in, and then you could go ice skating. These ice skates are a little different even still. You see this little screw sticking out of the base there? You would literally screw this into the heel of your shoe, and then there would be leather straps that would go around over. The leather straps are long since worn away on these skates, and these would strap over your shoe, and you'd be able to ice skate through those. I don't know about you, but the heels on the shoes that I have now that I would go ice skating in are not nearly thick enough to screw those screws into the bottom of them. So I'm certainly thankful that I can tie up a pair of ice skates. We also have some jacks. The jacks right here are metal jacks. I like to call these the world's most dangerous jacks. If any of you know how to play, you know that you are dropping a ball, bouncing it, and picking up as many jacks as you can as quickly as you can. Doing that with metal jacks is a tad more dangerous, and I'm sure created a few more ouches on your hand than typical jacks today. And another one of my favorite parts of our collection, and I'm going to kind of put this down here, are the marbles. These marbles, we even have the big, I believe they're Augies. Somebody, if you know that is the correct word, let me know. But I do believe those nice big ones right there are the shooters, the Augies that you can shoot across your circle. The marbles that we have are wood, they are clay, and they are glass. And the large marbles here have different designs inside of them. This one has colored glass swirled throughout it. And this one right here has a chicken, has a little porcelain chicken on the inside of it, and the glass has been poured around it to make that little marble. So these are Bradley's collection. Here's his little bag even that he would use to carry his marbles to his friend's house before he would go and play. Here we have, I apologize, I am doing this backwards. Here we have a game called Prisoner's Base. Prisoner's Base, as you can see in the red circle on the cover, is a Parker Brothers game. And this Parker Brothers game was copyrighted in 1896. Bradley Barnes was born in 1883, so he would have been 13 years old when this game was produced. And Parker Brothers, this was one of their earliest games Parker Brothers produced. It was in the first few years that the company existed. And actually one of the first couple of years that the company existed with the second Parker brother having joined the company. So this game is a 2-player game, and what you do is you pick a side of the board and you line up your little pawns on either side of that black line separating the board left from right. And your goal is to roll those dice that you see on the bottom there. They're very tiny, tiny little dice. And you would roll and move your pawn the number that you rolled. And your goal is to have one pawn circle the other person's prison base twice, or 2 pawns, each doing it 1 time each. So if you could do that, if you could roll and get your pawns around your opponent's base twice, you would win. But the catch is that you can't get caught. This is called prisoner's base. So if your pawn is caught by by your opponent, then you would go to the opponent's prison. You could win the game not only by circling the base twice, but you could also win by capturing all 4 of your opponent's pieces. So Parker Brothers, very, very cool game. Here is another Parker Brothers game. This here, I'm doing it backwards again, is called Crossing the Ocean. That's a better way to do it. Crossing the Ocean was an even earlier Parker Brothers game, again published in Salem, Massachusetts, like most of Parker Brothers' earlier games were. This was 1893. And this photograph we have right here of Bradley Barnes is a photo of Bradley with his mother Alice in 1893 when he was 10 years old. So you can imagine that's what he looked like when he would have played this game. And how this is played is there are 4 players that can play. You would each pick a pawn representing a ship, and you would turn the little dial in the corner here. And when you turn this dial, it shows a compass direction: north, south, east, west, northeast, southeast, so on and so forth. And you would move your pawn as many spaces as you could in the direction that you spun. You cannot go over the obstructions in the ocean, such as ships like here, and you can't go through other players' squares that they've landed in. The point of the game is to travel your pawn throughout the ocean, landing on these red dots throughout the board. Those red dots represent monetary amounts, and the first person to win $100,000 on the ocean wins. That is Crossing the Ocean. We have a toy that we bring to almost every single What Is It program that we travel to, and that is this cast iron horse and carriage right here with a lovely little lady driving it. We love our cast iron toys. Bradley took a lot of care with them. You could see that the paint is somewhat chipped over the years and the wheels have a lot of wear. He did play with this for sure. But it's fun to see how toys change over time. I know that my children had race cars and Thomas the Tank Engine trains and such like that. Well, Bradley wouldn't have had race cars and Thomas the Tank Engine trains because those weren't invented when he was a youngster, but he certainly would have had a toy, of course he did have this toy, representing the technology that was present in Southington, Connecticut when he was growing up. Last but not least, we have this game that's called Yachting off of Sandy Hook Light. And this is almost like a race game. We have the directions, the little spinner, and 4 little ships. I don't know if you can see, but the 4 little ships are sitting on top of a tiny little spring. And those springs are what help the ship kind of stay up, and they toggle back and forth just like a boat would over the water. But the point of this game is to spin the spinner. You start off near Sandy Hook Light, and you move your ship in, or you move your sailboat in the direction of the arrows pointing on the board game, the number that you spun. So if you spun a 4, you move it 4 spaces. The first person to travel all the way around the game and reach the Sandy Hook Light is the winner. Da-da-da. Hold on. We're going to go just like this for just one moment. Again, please excuse me as we set this up. I know that was probably a little bouncier than our other exhibits, but again, fun and games are very, very important, especially in times like this, when all of us are home, when our lives have been disrupted in many stressful ways. We at the Barnes Museum and everyone in town hope that you are safe and happy and healthy. But we also hope you're taking this time to make sure you're taking care of your mental health as well as your physical health. And games are a huge part of that. And again, games have been doing that for 5,000 plus years for us as a human race. So incredibly interesting. And there are so many ways that we can play games. The Southington YMCA, even though we can't be together right now face to face, the Southington YMCA has a board game Facebook page, and I encourage you to go on and follow that. In fact, they have many pages helping out with everyone's physical and emotional health during this time. And they're showing you how to play these different games. I'm showing you the history side of it, and they're showing you how you can play Yahtzee virtually on FaceTime with your family members. I totally did that last week. That was a ton of fun. I encourage you to do that as well. We have so virtually connect with others, even if you're playing solitaire, even if you're home and you're playing different kinds of card games by yourself. It's a release of stress, and it's a lot of fun, and it's again something that people have been doing throughout time. So you can also find Barnes Museum, a Barnes Museum online exhibit that we've recently created. And you go to our website, thebarnesmuseum.org, click on Virtual Events tab, and there will be a drop-down menu that comes on. That drop-down menu will have online exhibit board games, and you'll get a much closer and stiller, a little less shaky, look at some of the board games in our collection. Keep on coming back to the website as we'll be adding those every several days, and you'll see more and more and more of the collection. But we hope that you're playing these games. We're hoping, again, that you're taking care of yourselves during this time, and we want to see it. We want to know what's going on in your lives with the games. Are you playing any games like this? Do you have any old toys that you'd like to share with the museum? Message us on Facebook or email us at thebarnesmuseum@southington.org. And let us know. Send us your pictures, send us your comments, and we'd love to share them and give other people ideas of how they can be taking care of themselves. So let me just go over here because I see that there might be some comments or whatnot. Oh, hi everybody. Cute chicken marble. Isn't that adorable? There's another marble that we have, not only with the chicken in it, but there's one with a wolf in it, but the wolf is kind of crouched down almost as if he's in a yoga position almost, and it's kind of hard to see on camera. So we left him in there, which is pretty neat. But all right, my friends, thank you so much for joining us today for What Is It Wednesday. Share it away, share this video away. Again, it'll be up on YouTube for those who might not have Facebook later on. Take care of yourselves. We hope you're doing well, and thanks for watching. We'll see you next Wednesday.